Okay, so today we're going to draw an apple using tone. So I've got my apple here. If you put your apple on a piece of white paper, it will help you see the tones a bit clearer. And once you place your apple down, you'll be able to see the shadow where the light is hitting the apple. If you can't see the tone very clearly, you could get a little lamp and shine it on the apple, and then you'll really be able to see the contrast and tone. Also helps if you squint your eyes and look at the apple. Just squint your eyes and you'll be able to see that there's shadow here, and the light's hitting the apple on the right. So what I'm going to do is show you how to draw the apple using a 2B pencil. So I'm going to move my apple where I can see it fully. And the first thing I'm going to do is lightly sketch the shape and make sure it's big enough on my page. So I've got my page landscape today, and I want my apple to fill most of this space here. So I'm going to sketch a round shape. Now an apple, depending on where you're looking at it, if you're looking at it above it looks circular, and if you're looking at it from the side you'll notice that it's not a circle. So I'm going to look carefully at the shape using light strokes, just going to sketch out that shape so it's a slightly off circle. So at the bottom here the apple I can see is narrower, and then the rest of it's quite round. And what I think will make it look like an apple here is to have the stalk. So I'm just going to draw a little dip like that, and I'm going to have the little stalk showing there, and I'll take you through how to shade that in a moment. So next step then, I've got a 2B pencil which is great for shading. So I'm squinting my eyes, and what I noticed is that there's some highlight there. So I'm going to leave that the white of the paper, just sketching out where the highlight might be. I'm not worried about the pattern on this drawing today of the apple, I'm just looking for the dark and the light. Now if I was going to shade my apple in one direction like this, what actually happens is I'll get a flat, so although I'm using tone, I'll get a flat shape. So what I really want to do is to curve my pencil marks around the shape of the apple. So you'll notice on the left I want to be shading like this, and on the right I want to shade in the opposite direction like this. And then up here, to make this look like a dip, I need to shade kind of going down like this. So thinking about directional shading, the direction that you shade is quite important to make this look real. Now because it's quite a large space, as you're shading it might start off looking quite streaky, and you just need to keep going over it to get rid of any streaks. So as I'm shading it, I'm showing you that I've got my hand on the paper and I'm just moving, my wrist is helping me get these long strokes. Now this is a lot easier with a soft pencil. If I was drawing with a HB, they're harder, and it's not as easy to get tone. So try and get yourself a 2B pencil. If you haven't got one, HB is fine. It just means you have to press a bit harder. So I'm starting off shading. This is the darker side, and I'm going to go darker in a bit, but for now I'm just noticing there's a bit of light here, so I'm not going to shade that. So I'm doing little short marks around the dip of the apple just because I want to make sure that that looks like it's a dip. Now if you want it to be darker, what you need to do is press harder and go over the same area. So this is where my dark area is on my apple. So you can see that I'm building up tone gradually. And as I go over and over it, it does tend to get rid of any white paper and any streaks. Okay, so I'm going to be a bit lighter in the middle of the apple. Now the middle of the apple is more an up and down stroke, more of a straight stroke. So I'm using slightly the side of the pencil just because it will cover a bigger area. I'm just going to quickly mark in a light tone and then I'm going to make it darker actually. So I'm just getting some pencil marks down to start. So straight up and down here. So at the moment it all looks fairly like one tone. But as I go over it, towards the end of the drawing, it will start to look like I've got a range of tones. So what I'm looking for is maybe 4 different tones. So one tone is the lights of the paper, like just the white of the paper. And then another tone could be the darkest area. And then you'll have like a medium tone and then a light area. So you can get 4 or 5 tones probably in this drawing. Okay, so you can see the way I've shaded that. Because I've shaded it, directional shading it's called, it's starting to curve around the form of this apple, trying to make it look like a sphere rather than a flat circle. So again, I'm going over it again, and I'm going over it in a different direction this time because that's actually helping getting rid of any white paper that I don't want. It's a bit darker here, so there's like a medium tone here. Don't forget to squint your eyes so you can see where the dark and where the light is on your apple. Now on the lighter side I could switch to a HB because that is a lighter pencil. Right, so I want to just make sure that it's a bit darker in there. Draw my stalk. Another way of doing a highlight apart from leaving the paper blank is to use a good rubber. So I've got a good rubber here, so if I felt like I needed to make that a bit cleaner, I could rub that out where the light is shining on the apple. So notice the stalk has cast a little shadow there, so I've gone over that. And it's good to draw, if you draw a shadow on an object, it makes it look like it's sat on a table. So the shadow isn't as dark as my apple actually, so just need to roughly mark out the shape. It's about there. So I want the shadow to be quite flat, so you could always smudge it with your finger. Okay, so there's my apple. Now, you might have different apples. This one's a smooth green one. You might have a red one. So don't get distracted by the colour on this apple. But there is a pattern. So if you squint your eyes, you'll see the tone. But if you're trying to do a pattern like this, what you can do, so let's say that's my apple there, and what you can do is just press a bit harder where you see the dark red patches. But make sure you try and curve the shape of the pattern round as well, because we're looking at curvy lines. So imagine that's all shaded, and then you can put your pattern on at the end. Okay, well hopefully that video's helped you with your apple drawing.